Continuing from the previous chapter. Zhuo Yifan continued his conversation with Elder Yuan and learned that Yu Ling had joined this place because of her younger sister, despite having exceptional talent. Zhuo Yifan pointed out the flaws in Yu Er's blade technique. Afterward, he even praised the slum area, which is constantly filled with bloodshed, as the most peaceful place in the sect. Hearing this, Elder Yuan couldn't help but laugh and said, "Zhuo Yifan, our place here is the labor office, the most brutal and bloody place in the sect. How could it be considered peaceful?" Zhuo Yifan smiled and replied, "Elder Yuan, you just don't understand. Apart from killing or being killed, there are no other relations between people here. Isn't that peaceful? Outside, people are constantly plotting against each other, deceiving one another. Life is worse than death. Where else could you find such a pure and peaceful place?" Elder Yuan was momentarily stunned, then looked at Zhuo Yifan for a long time, nodded in agreement, and said, "Yes, indeed. Mr. Zhuo, your insight is very accurate. According to what you said, this place is indeed very peaceful." Zhuo Yifan glanced at Elder Yuan and burst into laughter. The two then walked side by side back along the path, discussing and exploring together. Their conversation was filled with profound insights and realizations. For a moment, the two felt a sense of shared purpose, only regretting that they had met too late. Zhuo Yifan and Elder Yuan walked and talked, gaining considerable benefits from their interaction. Elder Yuan also benefited greatly from his heartfelt conversation with Zhuo Yifan. At dawn on the third day, just after Zhuo Yifan finished his cultivation, Elder Yuan hurriedly rushed into Zhuo Yifan room and said anxiously, Zhuo Yifan, quickly follow me." Frowning slightly, Zhuo Yifan asked in confusion, "What's going on? Another assembly? I didn't hear any bells. Don't tell me they opened the Azura Circle yesterday and are continuing it today. Can't they let people live? I guess in 2 or 3 days, everyone in the labor office will be dead." Elder Yuan replied, "Well, the Azura Circle can't be opened so easily. They opened it yesterday, and they won't dare to open it again today. But this is the labor office, and work starts early every morning. You should go clean the rooms for the elder." Startled, Zhuo Yifan asked skeptically, "Cleaning? I didn't have to do that 2 days ago." Rolling his eyes helplessly, Elder Yuan sighed, "For the past 2 days, I was covering for you, hiding you. But after the Azura Circle yesterday, you were exposed. I can't keep lying anymore, especially not to Lord Yu Ling. She likely still remembers your defiance during the roll call yesterday. She's probably looking for you." "Why?" Zhuo Yifan exclaimed in confusion. "Does she have that kind of authority? Aren't you the manager?" Elder Yuan shook his head with a bitter smile and said pleadingly, "I've told you before, I'm just a nominal manager. Here, the strong rule. I, an old man at 2th layer of profound heaven, cannot contend with a master at the 3rd layer of radiant stage expert. So please, don't make things difficult for me." Zhuo Yifan looked at Elder Yuan and reluctantly shook his head. He moved his body and jumped down from the bed. Following the old man, Zhuo Yifan thought to himself, Elder Yuan is right. Everyone here is a friend. There's no need to make things hard for this old man. It's time to deal with everything here anyway. I'll handle that woman first. With that thought, Zhuo Yifan slowly walked forward with Elder Yuan. It wasn't long before they reached the square where everyone had already gathered. Yu Ling stood tall and proud at the front, looking down at everyone. Seeing Zhuo Yifan arrive, the two exchanged a glance and a cold smile appeared on their faces. "That brat is here," Yu Ling said with a sneer. Zhuo Yifan narrowed his eyes, feeling a shiver of alertness. "There's killing intent," he thought. Yu Ling coldly glanced around at everyone, took the list from Elder Yuan, and began assigning tasks. "Everyone is here. Now we will receive our tasks. Some will be responsible for cleaning Elder Shi's quarters. 2 will clean Elder Lu's room. The named individuals quickly stepped forward and examined the tools placed nearby, feeling a rush of joy and excitement. Witnessing this strange scene, Zhuo Yifan was puzzled. Why are they so excited about cleaning rooms? Is there some reward? However, after all the names were called, only Zhuo Yifan was left. Yu Ling raised her eyes to look at Zhuo Yifan, a sinister smile forming at the corner of her mouth, and loudly commanded, "Zhuo Yifan, take the tools and clean the sect master's room." As soon as she spoke, all the disciples in the labor office burst into mocking laughter, their eyes gleaming with schadenfreude as they looked at Zhuo Yifan. Stunned, Zhuo Yifan was confused. Why are they so happy? What's the big deal about cleaning the sect master's room? Zhuo Yifan had long wanted to visit there, and this was the perfect opportunity. He pondered, "Xia Wuyue, what exactly did you bring me here for? This time, I need to have a face-to-face conversation with you." As the morning sunlight shone down, two figures, one old and one young, walked through the densely packed pavilions and platforms. Finally, the scattered rays of light illuminated a magnificent grand hall. Elder Yuan pointed to a stately courtyard and meticulously instructed, "Zhuo Yifan, this is where the sect master rests. There are 300 rooms, and you must clean each one thoroughly. Do not slack off." Zhuo Yifan snorted lightly and cursed inwardly, "This bastard, how can you even use over 200 rooms?" However, Elder Yuan quickly waved his hand when he heard this, signaling for silence, and wiped the sweat from his forehead. "This is the supreme sect master. Of course, it must be cleaned regularly. We in the labor office must not speak carelessly. Otherwise..." At this, Elder Yuan made a gesture, his face filled with seriousness. Zhuo Yifan understood clearly. As the sect master of the demonic sect, Xia Wuyue was certainly not a benevolent person. Anyone caught gossiping behind his back would not meet a good end. However, Zhuo Yifan was not afraid. Since Xia Wuyue had brought him here, he wouldn't act against Zhuo Yifan for such a trivial matter. Zhuo Yifan knew well what he could and couldn't do, everything was clear in his mind. With a broom slung over his shoulder, Zhuo Yifan stepped inside and said loudly, "All right, I'll clean thoroughly." Seeing this, Elder Yuan became anxious and quickly grabbed Zhuo Yifan sleeve, sternly warning him, "Zhuo Yifan, I must warn you. The sect master has a strange temperament and a cleanliness obsession. Be very careful when you clean. If the sect master is displeased, you could die. Do you know why those people were so happy when they heard you were assigned to clean the sect master's rooms? It's because they escaped this fate. Yu Ling deliberately assigned you this task to get back at you. She wants to use the sect master's hand to eliminate you. Be very careful and thorough, or you could lose your life." Zhuo Yifan nodded and replied, "Ah, I see. Thank you for the warning, Elder Yuan. I'm going now." Even with the warning, Zhuo Yifan demeanor remained unfazed and confident as ever. With the broom slung over his shoulder, Zhuo Yifan boldly walked in, as if he had no regard for anything. It seemed like he had come not to clean but to rob the place. Elder Yuan, seeing this, was speechless. His face couldn't help but twitch, and he sighed helplessly, shaking his head. This kid is really arrogant. Entering the grand hall, Zhuo Yifan eyes scanned the opulent surroundings. Suddenly, Zhuo Yifan gaze fixed on a figure, his expression momentarily frozen. There, on the other side, a majestic man was leisurely descending the steps, speaking in a sleepy voice, "You're here? Make sure to clean thoroughly." It turned out to be the master of the place, the sect master of the demonic sect, Xia Wuyue. Seeing Zhuo Yifan, he was slightly surprised and furrowed his brows, asking, "Zhuo Yifan?" Zhuo Yifan, having never met Xia Wuyue before, was momentarily stunned. He looked up and said, "You are Xia Wuyue?"